Uh, All right, so welcome to FIB Live. My name is Martin Del Carpio. I am thrilled and happy that this is the very first live conversation we're having with the cast and crew from the film, feature film, actually, award-winning feature film from the Queens World Film Festival. I have Korab, the filmmaker. I have Max, one of the lead actors, and I have Donte, the director of photography, and also the editor of the film. And hanging around is Jalissa. She is some filmmakers in boardrooms. So basically what we want to accomplish with this section here at FIB Live, we want to be able to give the platform to filmmakers to have the opportunity to talk about the process of everything that they've went through in terms of accomplishing their films. As we know today, in today's age, it's not easy to do films on your own. It's not easy to accomplish. There's a lot of factors that play into it. There's money, there's coordinations, there's finding the right talent. There's a lot of things. So it's always great to just open up the platform to filmmakers and allow them to just have their say and to be able to express everything, the yin and yangs of complicated world sometimes that could be filmmaking. So I just want to take a moment to to allow each person on the platform today to introduce themselves and what their role was in the film. Although I already said it very briefly, but just anything else they want to add. So I'll start with Karab, the filmmaker, writer, producer.
Yeah, first of all, thank you to Martin and Jalissa for having us here. We're very excited to be here. Like Martin said, my name is Korab. I'm the writer and director of The Hangman.
Thanks, Karab. And Max.
Hey, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks guys so much for having us. I'm Max Pettit. I played the doorman and the hangman, and just a humble artist that was just that is so excited to take this journey with Korab and Donte.
Great, thank you. And Dante.
Hey, you can hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Dante. I did the cinematography and the post editing for The Hangman.
Great, thanks. So basically, I want to start from the beginning. I've been to a lot of film festivals myself, and have, you know, been to many in the last 6 or 7 years and have seen a lot of films, but I have seen nothing like The Handman. And I'm just gonna start from the beginning from my impressions of The Hangman when it all started. Basically, it was at the press event at the Queens World Film Festival. We all had to sit down. We all had to observe a presentation that they were doing. And I remember sitting and looking across the room, and I saw this poster that completely stood out from everything else. And I said, well, what an interesting poster that is. I'm intrigued. And I remember after the presentation was finished, I remember walking over to and speaking. I think I met Dante first, and I just remembered asking you questions about the film and all of that. And then you guys were like, "Yo, come to the screening." And I'm like, "Of course," But nothing prepared me for what I was watching from the moment it started. The opening scene with Max and thinking to myself, oh, first of all, the aspect ratio, everything was just so different. And then when the film started, it was just mind blowing. Every sequence, every frame, everything about it from A to Z was just mind blowing to me. And on a technical level, on the actors, everything. And I remember telling Corrupt after the screening, and I said to him one thing. And what I said to him was, God, we need more filmmakers like you. We need people who are pushing the boundaries, who are definitely not afraid to try different ideas to just go there sometimes. And The Handman was one of those films that you don't see, at least from my experience, I don't really see out there, and filmmakers taking those kind of risks. So first, I applaud you guys for doing that. Left a huge impression on me, and I said, "This is what filmmaking is. It's about taking risks. It's about doing your own thing, that sort of thing." So what I wanted to do also was discuss from the very, very beginning, the genesis of this whole process, and I think Korab will be the one to start this whole thing. The roots of the idea, how inspiration hit you. What was it that just made you think, okay, this could work, maybe? I want to try this idea. I mean, what was what was the beginning of this whole process like for you?
Yes, first, thank you for all those kind words, Martin. It really means a lot to us. Um, I think in terms of the idea, it started as I was working as a doorman early on in my doorman career. Just sitting around kind of bored, probably like maybe right after COVID or during COVID, just coming up with ideas because I remember at that time working in the job just and feeling like there's something very interesting about being a doorman. You know so much about these people's lives. You know about who their friends are, who their family is, what kind of medicine they get delivered, what kind of food they like, and all these are very intimate details. So I was like brainstorming to have or to come up with an idea that's like that would sort of match that, but also sort of push it to an exaggerated level of what that is. And that's when I came up with the hangman. And the hangman itself sort of took like multiple different variations as well as I was writing. So even though it was written maybe around 2020, the next 2, 3 years, I probably have like about 10 different versions of it because I wasn't pleased with it and just new ideas came to mind, etc.
Okay, great. And how was the writing process for this? What was the source of inspiration for you, in terms of, I mean, I don't want to give away too much about the film because I think people should watch it and experience it on their own terms. But what was the writing process in terms of, because I know like sometimes when you sit and write a film and you start to like figure out ideas, what was it that allowed you to think, okay, I want to push it this far in terms of what was that push that gave you that idea?
I mean, even in the beginning, there was, I would say, probably even more boundary pushing in the beginning of the film. So kind of also you have to work within your means and within the resources that you have. So that obviously also influences whatever you're writing, no matter what. But in terms of like like time period for writing, I once you write something, at least in my case, once I write something, I like to give it time. And then I like to like actually print out a physical copy to read it because I can't do digital. I like to have it in my hands just to be able to make notes really quickly. And then once I do that, I also tr you kind of have to take a break from it. You know what I mean? Because eventually you'll find multiple things you don't like about it and things you want to change and edit. So you kind of have to give yourself some time. You have to get some new eyes on it. I shared obviously with Dante. He's my longtime collaborator. He gives me notes. I share with my wife Alessandra. She also gives me notes. So just bring people in because once you're too into something, you kind of get tunnel vision and you kind of lose sight of what you're trying to accomplish sometimes. So I think it's always good to get a fresh pair of eyes on whatever you're doing too.
Cool. And the big question for a lot of filmmakers of it, FIB Live, we really want to focus on indie underground filmmakers, being that we know how difficult this is, and let's just bring out the big elephant in the room, and it's about how did you go about financing this from the get-go? How did you figure out, okay, this is how much I need to bring to the table, or do I need to have someone else? How did you coordinate all of that, the financial costs of the film, of a feature film?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was just about strictly budgeting and planning. And also, it also helps when you have collaborators like Dante who believe in you and they believe in your vision and are willing to contribute to help out. So the entire project is self-funded between the two of us. And I think I would obviously, I understand that there are routes you can go through GoFundMe or Kickstarter or whatever, but I also don't want people to invest in my projects in that sort of way because I just feel weird asking for something that I know that project probably wouldn't appeal to many, you know what I mean, on paper. So it's like you kind of need that creative and total creative freedom over your projects, especially when you're starting out. Because when you're starting out, you're not really in it to make any money back. You're kind of in it just to sort of get your voice heard, get your vision shown. And so, yeah, I mean, the entire project was self-funded.
Nice. Okay, well, congrats on that. It's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you.
Sure. And big question, about the actors and getting them to play? I mean, when you showed the, I mean, I don't know how was the process in terms of getting the actors involved. What was the audition process like? I'm sure when you had the script ready and they read it, can you share any insights onto how that whole process went?
Yeah, I mean, I the casting process was done via Zoom. But we did have multiple conversations because you also have to like get to know your actors as well. I think a big part, along with them auditioning and reading slides that you send them, I think is very important to get to know what they're like, what kind of films they're also into, because that sort of gives you an idea of how far they're willing to push themselves and sort of what they're familiar with. Because if they're not familiar with sort of anything that's close to what we're trying to accomplish, then it might be a little bit harder to convince your actors to do what you want them to do. So I think that played a big part, or at least, and obviously not everyone's going to see what you see, but I mean, as long as they're willing, and I remember giving the cast, I think a list of films, and I think Max seems to be on that of like what sort of inspired this movie and what to watch, and so I think that kind of helps too.
Okay. And because I don't want to give again, I don't want to give too much away about the film, but there is nudity involved in this film. How is that in terms with the actors, in terms of what advice can you give indie underground filmmakers how to approach such, I mean, nowadays it's a very delicate matter because of the political climate that we have in the industry going on. What advice and how would you give anyone who wants to approach nudity in filmmaking, especially underground filmmaking?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the number one word that comes to mind is just transparency. Once we had a big chunk of actors apply on Backstage, I mean, obviously it's in the listing itself that nudity is required, but I know sometimes actors don't really read everything in the listing. So once we had like a good chunk for each sort of character, we send out another mass email, you can say to everybody, and just letting them know, hey, just FYI, in case you're not interested, let us know. I mean, we did obviously have some people that dropped out after that, and that's okay. But we were trying to be as transparent as possible. And then once we had the remaining, I'm also aware that people still don't read emails. So
Mhm.
even during the Zoom interviews, you bring it up again. You just got to let them know. And while you're on set, we did hire an intimacy coordinator. It was very important for us to sort of have that buffer so the actors, if they don't feel comfortable telling me, for example, hey, I don't think I should do this, then they can at least go to her, our intimacy coordinator, and maybe she could relay it to me, and then we could work something out. But honestly, just be transparent. I mean, that's really all you can do. You stick true to your vision, but be transparent. Make sure you tell everybody ahead of time that this is what you're looking for.
And also have them sign release forms just for the protection of.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course. So release forms, nudity writers that the intimacy coordinator created for us, everything. Yeah.
All right, so we're in the process. Right now, we're in talking about acting, so I do want to bring Max to the forefront for a second.
Mhm.
So Max, I have a lot of questions to ask you. Um, Loved your performance. I thought it
Thank
was
you.
amazing. From the opening shot, just everything about it was just so visceral. But what I wanted to know is when you received the script, what was your first impression?
Oh my God. I think my first impression was, oh, I'm not worthy of this, and which I think is, it's such a great script. And I think when I first read it, it's like you, as an actor, you really want to book something, especially something like this that is just so cool and so different. But then when you finally book something, you're like, oh, I got to do this now, and I really need to arrive, and I really need to show up for this. And especially how genuine Korab is and Donte, and how they really came to this with their full, like, authentic selves. I was like, okay, I need to work this with friends who are actors. I have to find a friend who's a coach. I got to do the research. I have to watch the films. I think I was nervous. I was scared. Because I loved it so much.
Nice. And I know you just mentioned that you watched different films, but what was the preparation process like for you? I mean, what was it
Mhm.
like for you to like when you had to step onto the set and people need to watch this film. I don't want to give away too much, but what was the prep for that? All that, the dinner table scene. what was your prep? I mean, in terms of even the basement scene, you
Oh
know,
yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, what was it that got you mentally prepared to be abused by the family members like that? What
Sure.
was it that allowed you to finally just find that point where you could say, all right, this is the space I need to be in? How did you prepare for that?
Um, yeah, I'll say I'm a really big believer in just reading a script over and over and over and over again. I kind of hate like route memorization. So it's just kind of about reading it like as many times a day as possible and trying to let that seep in.
Okay.
Building that imagined reality, what that would be like for me, or as me as the doorman. I worked out with a few friends. I had them watch it, so I could do it before I got on set. But then honestly, the space that Korab, Donte, Kimberly, our intimacy coach, I mean, she wasn't there for the scene you're talking about, but also the other actors created when we were on set.
Mhm.
They like 50% is preparing, and then the other 50% is being on set, and they create that reality in a way that felt safe, but also real. That it just kind of comes naturally to the surface, and all that homework that you kind of did kind of comes up. I don't know if I'm making any sense or if I sound like I'm talking about magic here or something, but I was down in on like for the scene you're talking about. And I don't want to give too much away. I was in that space in that moment for several hours, so it just starts to build naturally for you. And there was one moment in that scene that was like I was not acting; it was just real because everyone was giving me so much, including my co-stars. They were just so fabulous, and they really brought that out of me. And I was like, that's what's just yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so, note to all filmmakers out there, actors are, if not as important, but the important factor in filmmaking. So make them feel comfortable so they could give you their best. And that's what, because actors are the ones who make or break your films sometimes. So it's important to just bring them in. And I think sounds like Corrupt did an amazing job doing that. So it's like made you feel comfortable to just let go, be free. And I think that's important sometimes for filmmakers to understand. So thank you. Thanks, Max. And Dante,
You.
um, from the opening shot, I mean, I saw the aspect ratio was so different. I said, first, I thought to myself when I first watched that, I said, okay, is this just going to be for the opening of the film? I'm thinking maybe halfway through the film, I'm noticing it's still at that aspect ratio. And this is like for you and Korab as well, because I know both of you worked together. But I mean, what made you decide to and now to explain better to the viewers, like the aspect ratio of the film is actually like a cell phone kind of thing. Imagine that you're not holding it the right way, you're holding it vertical. That's basically the whole film. And it worked so well. I mean, it brought me into a different reality. I don't know how to explain it really. And it just really worked. It didn't feel anything was cut out. Everything was so perfectly placed. So if you guys, Dante, Parab can talk about that, like what made you decide to utilize that aspect ratio?
Yeah, so the aspect ratio was, I think, 4:3. It's something that when we were planning initially, like the pre-production, Korab had mentioned that he wants to shoot it in this 4:3. And we just always like had that in mind. Like we're gonna go through the project, shoot it that way, and then, post when we do the editing, just we're not gonna really crop anything like that. It's just gonna be shot in that aspect ratio. I think it was just like a stylistic choice that you don't normally see in movies. So we thought it would just be like a cool idea. Um, and yeah, I think it definitely, when you watch it, you sort of get that same feeling of like it's very unique, it's very standoutish in that aspect ratio. I feel like if it was shot in like a standard, film ratio that you see in movie theaters, it probably wouldn't work the same way that it does in the film now.
Yeah, someone at the festival in the Q&A said that it sort of for him was the impression that he got was that it was very like tight and claustrophobic, and it made it more intimate for the characters on screen, which I thought was a great interpretation. But I also think in terms of the film itself, it's very unique, like Dante was saying, and it's sort of nonconformist in a way. And I think if it was a standard ratio that you see everything else, I honestly think it might have taken away from the film a little bit because you want to be reminded that this is not something that you should be comfortable watching pretty much. You know what I mean? It is happening. And I think that aspect ratio, because we're not so used to it, I think it kind of throws people off and that kind of adds to the storytelling in like a very unique kind of way.
Cool. And in terms of like the cinematography itself, I mean, when you look at it, I saw a lot of different lighting effects to it. I mean, I know it was done on set and all that, but it's just it works so well. I mean, what does it? I mean, there's an experimental edge to the film for sure, and that's what I got when I first watched it on the screen. But what was it that you guys? How did you go about making the decisions in terms of how to do the setups for different scenes, the basement scene? I'm talking about the bedroom scenes towards the end. There's, even like the role of the father at the beginning when you see him standing next to the TV holding um the white head, I want to say, the mannequin head, I think it is. I mean, all of that, the lighting effects, it's kind of like put more in the dark and it's all so well done, and I'm like, how did you guys go about in terms of setting all that up?
Yeah, so a lot of it, I guess I'll go a bit ahead with the location scouting. We got this place like very last minute. So we basically had to go in and just sort of like test things out on the scene. I feel like the lighting and stuff, we knew what we wanted to do, but not exactly how we wanted to set up. So every scene, like the dinner scene, the individual bedroom scenes, we spent maybe like a good 5 or so minutes camera here to see how it looks. Put the lighting on, let's turn it to this color. How does, this actor look in that? And we would just go about doing it that way until we found, I guess, the right shot for like each scenario. And yeah, I think it was definitely trial and error based in that sense. Like we felt comfortable, like we knew what we wanted. It was just a matter of, well, how exactly are we going to do it? And some locations took a bit longer than most, like the basement scene, for example. We initially didn't write it in the script to be in the basement. So we sort of were exploring the house and then we go downstairs and we're like, oh, this is a cool location. It's got like a cool, creepy, atmospheric look to it. How about we turn this scene into, I don't want to spoil it, but we just call it the basement scene right now. And even that, like there was just so many of, oh, Korab wants me to go here. How does this look? And then, just take the camera, put it at this angle, over the shoulder or facing this direction. It was a bunch of that, but I don't feel like it, I don't think it uh, hindered the movie. I feel like we ended up getting what we envisioned it in the first place, even though it wasn't what we planned for. If that makes any sense. Like we didn't necessarily come into shooting that day knowing that we're going to get those shots, but we ended up getting them and it met our expectations and a lot of it even like exceeded our expectations.
Nice. So it has like a little bit of that experimental feel to it because you guys were feeling out, although you had the ideas before, but you guys were sort of feeling out the location when you arrived, seeing what
Yeah.
could work and not work. So you didn't have storyboards on this. You didn't create storyboards.
No, we didn't have storyboards. We just really spoke about it. Like me and Korab, we would go pre-production plan wise, and we would just talk about what we want. And we, wrote notes down and stuff. But a lot of it was just we understand, and I understood what he wanted from it, and we just understood exactly how we're going to approach it. And a room is a room to us, like once you get in the room, we just set it up with the lights in this way. But it wasn't like we already knew in our head like how it was supposed to look.
Right.
And once you get there, it's just making sure that everything's lit right, the actors are fine in their settings and
And
yeah,
sometimes, I was going to say, sometimes the setting dictates the shot itself. So you learn from where you're at. And I think even though you might plan the perfect shot in your head, when you get on set, you'll see that it's almost impossible to get. You have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to feel the
yeah,
setting you're in and you sort of have to work with it. You have to let it feel you out, and you feel it back out, and then you find the perfect shot. And that's sort of what happened here with this house. And uh, we, especially low budget filmmakers, we don't have time to rent the Airbnb a week prior so we can do rehearsals and figure out the perfect shot. So a lot of it is all on the fly and coming up with solutions that will move the project forward. But like I said, a lot of it has to do with the setting itself.
Yeah, I don't think we took too long, like for every set. I don't think we took too long planning. I think like that maybe 5 or so minutes, 5, 10 minutes that we would, okay, it's going to be a bit more difficult considering like it's not the biggest of rooms, but we were able to find what we needed every location that we went through throughout the entire house there.
Nice. All right. So I think the next question for you guys, because I do feel like The Hangman is an artistic film, right? I think it's like an artistic narrative film, of course. And you guys have been doing, I mean, you guys, congratulations again on winning the award at the Queens World Film Festival. Well deserved.
Thank you.
I know that you guys now are getting also into other festivals, I think in New York as well. And you have screenings coming up this year. I mean, I'm already thinking of 2026, sorry. Well, in a couple of weeks this year, 2026. But my question for you guys is now you're at the stage where you got the film done. Now you are technically promoting it, right? You're putting it out there. What expectations do you have with the type of film that you guys created? And I think this goes for all of you, even for Max as an actor. You created the film, you're proud of it, it's art, as artists, you don't release it until you can stand behind it 110%. But then once you release it, it's beyond your control what's going to happen, right? You don't know people's reactions to it and all that. So if you could talk a little bit about so far, how's the reactions have been for you? I mean, the Queens World Film Festival embraced it, and I applaud them for that. I think it's amazing that they are supporting these type of films, which is important. But also, um, I don't know, what other reactions have you guys gotten, and what expectations do you have for this type of film? And Korab, I mean, from the very get-go, since the time you had the idea for the film, maybe there was a little bit something inside of you that said, "This is what I'm envisioning to accomplish with this film," right? In the long run. So you could talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that.
Of course, I think initially when the idea started and when we were in pre-production and even after, I think the main goal for us was to just, especially since we are low budget, micro budget filmmakers, self-funded, self-taught, and so I think the main goal for us was really to just play at a festival, play in a screen, play in a theater, and so in that regard, we did accomplish what we set out to do. But in terms of what the reactions have been, I think because the film is very, I think maybe divisive, I would say. I think a lot of people are going to have strong reactions to it. I think, like Queen's World, for example, they loved it. We're playing also part of their online section for Another Hole in the Head. We're going to be up there for 5 days the week of Christmas. So I think, and even the feedback I got from that festival, the guy was just like a very weird film. I loved it. So I think it's just it depends on who is running the festivals, really. You know what I mean? I think some people are gonna love it, some people are gonna hate it, and I think I I wouldn't want it any other way. That's life. I don't want to make something that's maybe universally accepted, but it doesn't really mean anything to me.
Right.
So I mean, it's fine to me. Whatever reaction comes from it, I think as long as you're feeling something, then mission accomplished.
Nice. What about you, Max, as an actor? What reactions have you gotten so far?
Yeah, I think most people love it, but the few people that don't love it don't like it. They hate it. And I find that fabulous because they're not bored by it. They're not forgetting it by the time they've walked back to their car to drive home. They have a strong opinion about it. And I think that's really interesting. And I think that's what's really cool. And it's because the film that Korab has written, it's breaking all the rules.
Yeah.
And I think it was probably you who said, like, you're a little bit rebelling against cinema in and of itself. And I think that's why people are just, it's not, they want to sit down and they want to have some, classic Sundance indie, this might not be it, you know? And I think that's what I think is really remarkable. And I, as an artist, I did the work. I put it all out there, and however people feel about it, that's how they feel about it. And yeah, we have no control over that. All we can do is just put everything on the line.
Nice. Anything you want to share, Dante?
Yeah, I feel like they both sort of summed it up. I think uh, with a film like this, like we're not intending to just do a standard movie that you might watch at like your AMC or whatever. You know, I feel like there's a lot of movies that people don't watch, that even more people don't even know about because they're too afraid to sort of like expand their variety. And I think that's what we wanted to do with this film is just make something that you wouldn't see, but it's gonna stick with you in a good way or a bad way. Like you're not gonna say that you don't remember watching it. And I think a film like this and making films like this, albeit, you know, less to do with, you know, uh shock value, let's say, but just more of like sincerity and like, you know, making the film that you want to make regardless of if people might feel disgusted or appalled by the type of content or not there. I feel like it's still very important to have film sincerity when you're directing movies and not just to put, you know, random schmuck out there. Like make films because films are, it's, you know, it's an entire thing. It's not just like one specific point. Like there's different emotions, there's different things that you can explore with film. And I think that's what we just tried to do with The Hangman.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it was so many, it was like an onion for me. It was like so many layers to peel off as I was watching the film. I mean, apart from, I mean, I watch a lot of edgy films, so I wasn't shocked per se, but I was shocked that I was watching that kind of a film at a film festival. Like I said before, because you don't really get to see a lot of films like that, which is great to see someone finally breaking that mold, so to speak, right? So that for me, that was like just brilliant to watch. But it was not like the nudity scene, the nude scenes and all of that was not gratuitous for me. It was more like there was all these layers. I mean, and I did kind of want to point this out and correct me if I'm wrong, but like Korab said, like, you know, initially as working as a doorman, you know, he's seeing a certain class of people behave a certain way. He observes from the outside, right? Um, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there a sense of maybe criticism to a social class, so to speak, in the film? Because that's kind of like what I got from it too. I did feel that the character that Max plays, you know, he is liberating this family in a way. And again, I don't want to give too much away about the film, but in a way, it's like an experience for the family that he's sort of like the catalyst, you know, to just let them to let go of their demons. If I'm wrong about that, I don't know if I'm wrong about that, but I do feel that there's a social commentary on this film.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think commentary is a better word. Criticism, sure, but I also think just an observation more than anything. I think in terms of when you're in that position, you kind of understand what you're dealing with and that I mean, you know that it's your job, you know that one day these people can love you, one day they can hate you. And so I try to take that observation and exaggerate it to the next level with the film. But I think in terms of how people behave, I mean, I don't know. I think there's definitely something there regarding social classes and the way they treat the help, like the doorman, for example. But I think more so than anything, and especially now after like a few rewatches of your own film, I kind of have like also a different approach to the film as well for a while. So I mean, and I don't want to get into that because I don't like really over explaining my films. I think you sort of just have to watch them to feel it for yourself. But I think if you watch it multiple times, I think you can see it in various sort of aspects. The first one, I think on the initial watch would be, okay, this family is fucked up. They're crazy. But then the second one, you can sort of, I guess, understand that maybe the family represents all of the worst aspects of our own selves.
Mhm.
Um, But I think it just, yeah. it's like you said, an onion, sort of more multiple layers.
Yeah, it just gives you more and more as you know you think about it. Because I was thinking about the film like week after I watched, I was still like, what did I just see? Like, what was this and what was that? So it was just brilliant. You guys accomplished your goal with this film, I believe, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
And I'm very curious to know what's next for you guys.
First, I mean, I'll speak for myself and Dante, and then Max will let us know what he's working on. But I think in terms of what's next, I would like to sort of just play this out for a little bit. It's once you're emotionally invested in a project, you kind of have to like see it through. So once we near sort of the end of the maybe a year of trying festivals, I think then we'll sort of pivot to releasing the film somewhere. And then once that's out there and we can finally, because even just thinking about a next project, you have to be both physically and mentally ready to do so. And so I don't think I'd be able to until I've sort of closed the door on the Hangman fully, and I'm just it's a little too early to do that, so I'm still just running the festival run and seeing how that goes.
Thanks. What about you, Max? What's next for you?
Well, I mean, I mean, it's amazing too. Yeah, I mean, we're still just living the hangman, which is a year and a half later, which is fabulous. I have another film that's kind of like it's going into festival submissions now. It's called An Old Friend. It's me and a high school friend who were on a wrestling team together. We reunite, and we were kind of suffered a lot of abuse from the wrestling coach. This summer, I'm going to London. I got into Lambda's London Academy Music Dramatic Arts Shakespeare program, and I got a little bit of a scholarship, so I can go out there, which is fun. Because I'm a theater kid, I'm a stage kid, and this is my first feature film. So um, I am forever grateful to Korab for giving me the opportunity to get comfortable, um, doing this.
Nice. How was it being a stage actor doing, how different was it to do a screen film, to be a screen actor?
um, it's all about toning it down, you know. It's like when you are on stage, they always say you're performing it for the balcony, and they always teach you historically, you do stage and then you do film. Of course, now we live in a new world where people do film and then stage, but it's about less. And Karab was excellent. I kind of like coaching me in moments only when I really needed it, and kind of being there to kind of just be like, all right, just we're just gonna adjust it just this much, especially for some of the bigger scenes. And yeah, that was I really appreciate that. And yeah, you find it's just so much fun. It's just like when you've done stage for so long and then you finally get to be on set. And I've done a lot of short films, but never a feature length film. Never one where I get to be in on location for a week and just live and breathe the story.
Nice.
Um, it's just you find like you're meeting another version of yourself. It's really cool.
Well, I want to share the poster
Okay.
because, and I think this is the first thing that grabbed my attention of the film when I looked at it across the room and I said, first of all, my impression was that I thought it was some sort of a horror film, to be honest with you. And for some people, maybe, I think, possibly, but it's much more than that. It's a lot going on. Like I said, it's like an onion with many different layers. But if any of you can talk about the poster design, just what inspired it and the imagery, it's just so surreal and it's just so
Yeah.
eye-catching.
Thank you. So this poster was actually designed by my wife Alessandra. She came up with this whole thing. The mirror you're seeing in the middle of the poster, these are some random shots we took on the last day of filming because I love mirrors and I just had all the actors walk down the steps and I was just taking pictures of them from the reflections because I thought it was really cool. So then what she did is she kind of took it, we added like a little fingerprint, you can say, effect on it, made it
Oh,
black and white because it has to do about identity. The lines you see on the side, I mean, she came up with it on her own, but for me, it sort of represents like kind of like a maze because that's what the film is. It's sort of like a maze with everything that goes on, and I mean, she's great. She came up with it on her own, so I love it too. Trust me.
Yeah, it's really well. I mean, you're saying all these things that I never like even pay. I see the fingerprint on it. Like, wow, I never. It's just so surreal. It should just win an award on its own. Your wife should win an award just for this. Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
amazing. So on that note, I mean, thank you guys for coming, for being a part of this, for being the first, and I'm proud as hell to say that you guys are the first for FIB Live because I love the film so much, and I'm so happy you guys accepted this to do
Of
this.
course, we're honored. Thank you for having us.
Gosh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. Thank you both.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Can I say that I learned so much, just like even certain quotes and that you said, like, let the setting dictate the shot. Thank you so, so much. It was definitely a great experience meeting the three of you. I wish you the best of luck with your film.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Jalissa. We
you.
appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
And to all the viewers out there, if you ever come across this film at a film festival, please watch it because you're gonna walk in one person, you're gonna walk out a whole different person. Trust me. You're gonna be like, what did I just see? Whether, like you guys say, whether you love it or hate it, but it will leave an impression on you. So it's very much worth your time. So thank you guys again, and we'll be in touch. Take care.
Yes. Thank you guys for having us again.
Take care,
Take care.
guys. Have a
Thank
good
you
day.
so much.
Okay, I just closed the YouTube.